Tim, I have a question about victimhood and also about this thing about who I'm being as a situation is determines how it turns up for me, including how you turn up for me.
Okay.
Could you elaborate?
Let's just deal with that. This phraseology, who you're being that something is, gives you how you get it. This actually came from Werner Erhard and the Landmark Education, but it's brilliant. Who you're being means everything that you are in regard of that matter or person. So it's the space you are for them. Could they, is there a welcome there? Is there a hostility there? Is there a conditional welcome there? Or is it completely an open space? Or also who you're being that someone is means the thoughts you're having about them, the things you're saying about them, the subconscious issues that are activated by them, what your body language is saying, what your breathing pattern is saying. It's the totality of everything that's going on for you in regard to that person or that situation. So who you're being that I am gives you how you get me. How is that so? There isn't a fixed way that I am, or that anybody is, or that anything is. Because deep introspection, deep viewing of how things actually are, will reveal everything as empty. Everything as empty. Otherwise, we'd all get different things the same way. We don't even get ourselves the same way twice. So we're not fixed even to ourselves. We might have favourite loop thoughts that we have, but even they are different each time they come round. If we look within ourselves, we don't find anybody. It's empty. It's meaningless. There's nothing there. If you actually sit very quiet and look. So how I turn up for myself is given by who I'm being that I am, who I'm thinking that I am, who I decided that the past made me, perhaps, what I'm doing. All these things contribute to how I get myself. If who you're being that somebody is, if you persist in it, they actually really, it happens in real life. They turn up for you and prove it right. So it's a stand you can take. That who I'm being that you are gives me how I get you. Who I'm being that life is gives me how I get it. But it accesses you to the possibility of transformation, because it means that you recognize that everything is empty and that how everything is occurring for you, you are responsible for. And then there's an investigation that can happen, an inquiry that can happen as to, well, why are you getting, say, a negative result? What's the payoff? And this brings us to the question of victimhood. There is, victimhood is a stand you can take about the way something has happened. Oh, it's not my fault. So by playing the victim part, you get not to have to take responsibility for an outcome. You get a need met by taking the victim position. You get to call for someone's help or attention by playing the victim. Oh, look, I'm so wounded and bashed by whatever happened. I need help. I'm a victim, help. You get to pay off guilt. So someone assumes the victim role in order to pay off guilt they have about something. You get to take revenge. You take the victim, I'm so hurt by what you did. But taking that position is actually a way of hurting the other.
How would you advise somebody who sees themselves as a victim to be able to put that feeling down?
Well, to first of all get some distance. Recognise that the one that was hurt actually is not who you are. That you're the one that was quietly observing all that. And as the observer, you haven't been touched. And then understand compassionately that you took that victim role as a way of dealing with the trauma of whatever happened at that time. But now it's not helping because you're stuck in it. So you can choose to take the position, who I was being that person was, gave me how I got him. Who I was being that situation was, gave me how I got it. That I am at cause.
The reason I have a bit of a problem with this is the example of a child that's abused, maybe a 3-year-old. By
Well, obviously it doesn't
10-year-old
work for a
brother.
child that is abused, does
So
it?
there's no choice and there's no opportunity for the child to put that.
Yeah,
in.
but later,
Later, yes.
you know, at the time the child doesn't feel a victim. A 3-year-old child does not feel like a victim.
No.
A 3-year-old child is just completely baffled by what's going on and traumatized. Later comes the child tries to, as the child evolves, it creates a story, it creates a version in which it can hold this trauma and start to sort of separate itself from it and feel some peace again, and by having it that it's a victim. Then a stage beyond that is to, because you see, when you're a victim you have no power. You can't really do anything as a victim because it's all been done to you. So if it's possible for you to go, well, who I was, say for example you have it that your mother victimised you and it was nasty to you and that's why you never was, you know, successful or something, then okay, you can live in that. But then comes a point where actually that isn't the causality, the true causality. Who you were being that she was gave you how you got her.
Can I give a little example there that you could maybe...
I'm not interested in stories,
okay.
but if it's relevant, yeah.
Well, for an example, when I was 2, I was having a tantrum in my high chair one day, and my mother poured a saucepan of cold water over my head, which made my tantrum much worse. And I didn't forgive her for a very, very long time. She eventually apologised about 15 years later. And obviously it was something that I did put down.
So who you were being?
Yeah, how could I have been being anybody as a 2-year-old child having a tantrum?
Well, you see, well that's what I've said. When you were 2, it doesn't really work. But who you were being was probably, you know, that behaviour that you were exhibiting as a tantrum 2-year-old has probably been the source of what is now a well-ingrained, unworkable characteristic that you have in certain situations. It started there. You know, your mother gave judgment that had to be nipped in the bud right there, perhaps. But the point is, you didn't make yourself a victim of that there and then. You just didn't really know. A 2-year-old child does not know what's going on.
But
It's
I did
just
react,
like
I did
it's
react
a big
to the situation.
yes, but it's a big shock. You didn't give it a meaning till later. And the actual fact is that, although I don't expect you to be able to accept this, in my experience of dealing with hundreds and hundreds of people, stories like this actually are very dubious, because you can't remember clearly from this moment right the way back to you at 2 years old when that happened. You can remember remembering it 15 years ago or whatever, and then beyond that there's like, it becomes part of the myth that justifies your relationship with your mother and your stand with your relationship with your mother. And in this kind of thing, memory is not to be relied on. But what's interesting is, what are you using it for? What did you use that story for? You see, one day your mum poured water on your head, you say.
I'll probably
But
punish
what
her.
is also a fact is that there was like 20, 30 years of really looking after you, loving you, and always being there for you.
Absolutely.
But that kind of gets edited out of the picture because you're playing victim. The reason why I'm not as I should be is because my mum poured water on my head when I was a kid.
But these very early childhood memories can affect us very, very deeply, can't they? The early happenings, these early events.
What you make them mean, yeah. You make them but something.
Even if for a child that's very violently abused,
something
not,
that
not like I was. But
yeah, something that it's what you make it mean that you carry with you. The actual moment has gone. It's what you then make it mean. So by playing the victim, you also get to attack. So I'm a victim of my mother. You're actually attacking her by taking that point of view. Saying she's very bad and wrong, she did this. And it's an attack on her. And it's also a way of controlling the situation. So that because you're a victim, because you're wounded, you don't have to take the next step. You would, but you can't. And it's her fault. She should never have poured water on that. That pouring water on my head as a 2-year-old child, I've been living with her every single day since. It's who I am now. I know, what can I do?
It hasn't been for a long time. We laughed about it a long, long time ago.
Yeah, but how long did you carry it before you laughed at it?
Probably probably unconsciously for quite a long time.
Well,
because
exactly.
It was probably my earliest memory.
The fact you're still talking about it.
Well, I brought it up in the context
but
of
the
our
fact that it's
conversation.
still kind of in your in your current memory, means that it's not that far away.
But for you, you would say I shouldn't even talk about the story because it has no relevance at all.
The
or any
stories
meaning.
we tell about our conflicts with people, or what happened, we'd always tell them as if it's the truth, whereas actually it's only our truth. And any other, if you could speak with your lovely mum, who I've met, and I find it very, very hard to believe that she would do that. She's one of the loveliest women I've ever known.
Absolutely.
You know, beautiful woman.
Fantastic woman.
It's almost impossible to my reckoning that she would have done that. But, what was the question? Aha! What were we saying? What did you ask that I was responding to? We were talking about your mum.
And about me having remembered what happened.
Yeah.
In a certain way.
Yeah, well basically, so as you remember it, it generally doesn't really happen like that.
So it didn't have the meaning that I ascribed later to it.
So then you give it a meaning later, then you live in that meaning and it serves you, and it's her fault for you not being great. And, you know, it can also be, it's a way of proving worthiness sometimes. So you play the victim, oh God, you know what, and
well, can I tell you what
and in
reality
playing
was?
the victim, you sacrifice yourself.
Yes, I did.
And somehow this makes you worthy.
For a long time, I wouldn't let her touch me. That's what happened.
Yeah, that's you punishing her.
Yeah.
Where a victim gets to punish,
Yeah.
it's passive aggressive.
Yeah.
A victim can get to punish, the exact classic example, and also a victim gets to teach. The only problem is that the person you're teaching by playing the victim doesn't get it. They're going, why is Rosie hanging on to this so long? You know, why can't she just let it go?
Yeah.
Because and you're inside you. You're not even aware that you are teaching, but actually inside you're going, see, if you do this to people, this is what happens. I won't be successful. And you know, I saw this. Somebody came for a reading the other day, and they were like, you know, they had everything going, but they had not made anything of it. And as we investigated, it was really just came down to the fact that the reason they hadn't made anything of it was because they were punishing their mum for not doing what they thought she should have done.
So you can actually make a bigger success of your life through stepping out of the victimhood than if you hadn't been a victim in the first place.
There's
Or
no
seen yourself
success
as one.
really for a victim,
No.
because a victim is stuck.
Yeah.
In a part of them is stuck in a certain part of a point in time. You see, we think we're all here now. We're not all here now. A lot of us, in some cases, is there then. So say you had a trauma at 2, part of you's stuck there until you release it out of your pain body. Or say something happened when you were 15, part of you that's unresolved still, then part of you. You see, there's nothing you can't let go of. There's nobody you can't forgive. But
even Hitler.
But yeah, people always mention Hitler.
I know, well, we
I
have
don't know
to
why.
see.
There's
Good
people done a lot
extreme
worse things than
example,
Hitler.
that's why. Well,
You know, like the way we are with each other.
yeah.
You know, it's like much more closer to home where we need the
Well, I
forgiveness.
scream at you sometimes.
Well, yeah, and I forgive you for that. I realise you're barking up the bonkers tree, and that's what happens. But yeah, so forgiveness is the key. And there comes a point where you're so... You see, there's a part of you that isn't wounded. No matter how bad that traumatic experience was, there is a part of you that is not wounded.
For everybody.
For everybody. For every single person. And what is that part? That part is this. It's like you could say that the dramas you have in your life are like weather. So really bad weather equals a terrible traumatic event. But no matter how bad the weather is, does the sky ever get touched?
No.
Does the sky ever get changed?
No.
Does the sky become hot when the sun shines? No. Does it get wet when it rains? No. Does it blow anywhere when it's windy? No. If you let an atomic bomb off in the sky, would it crack? No. Is there an edge to the sky? No. Is there a centre to the sky? No. Can you grasp the sky? No. Your sky-like awareness. Nothing that's ever happened in the dream of your life, the play of your life, the drama of your life, has ever touched you, good or bad. This is true. And if you find that place which hasn't been touched, the sky-like awareness of who you truly are, the one who's looking out, then you're in a perfect position to deal with victimhood and let it go, to deal with forgiveness and forgive, and to let everything pass and come fully into present time. Out of the there then, letting the past go into the past and come fully into the present, the presence of your presence in the present. That's where the love is. That's where freedom is. That's where joy is. That's where clarity is. That's where you are who you truly are. When you're not there, you're a character from a play that happened back there. So victimhood, it works up to a point, and then you've got to put it down and get over that, because you're not what happened to you. In the ongoing quest, who am I? Who you are not is, I am what happened to me. That's not who you are. You pre-existed it. You are still there when you're not remembering it. It doesn't support you. It's a myth. You are something else. You are that sky-like awareness that nothing touches, yet everything happens within. And understanding this, you could say, is liberation from suffering. The suffering that comes out of victimhood. The suffering that comes from that kind of interpretation of life's events. Not making you wrong for playing the victim, but it's probably, if you're watching this, it almost certainly is time to put it down and feel free. And many people who've come to me with that issue, who have put it down, have said two things happen when they put it down. One, they just felt a whole lot lighter within and without. And secondly, their relationship with their life and their prosperity and their abundance and getting what they want went on to the next level. Things just started to really flow. So it's definitely worth it. And I wish you all the best in that.